I think anything you can do to get your hands on a cow, just to learn something, what's on the inside of a cow, what makes her, you'll pick up a nugget at any kind of short course that you can. You know, that's part of it, being willing to do what other people won't do. I've had some people that have called me and said we were contemplating on doing something bad to themselves, and they was to read a post, one of our pastor preachings or something like that, and reach somebody. Man, money can't buy that.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. Today we got Bubba Rutherford on. Y'all might have seen him on social media. He's got quite a presence on there, but he is a cattle relocator, buys and sells a lot of cattle. And how's it going?
Man, it's going great. Can't complain a bit. Just, stack them deep and sell them cheap.
Yeah.
There's no way of really doing it with the market like it is right now.
Yeah. Lots of green grass, high calf prices, high killer prices. So
yeah, it's literally just perfect as far as with the amount of cattle that you see, but the amount of grass that we got right now. I've been on the place where I'm at right now since I was 13 years old. I have never seen as much grass as what we have right now.
Yeah.
And probably got fewer cows right now, just for the simple fact we're rolling through those things. Mm-hmm. And so, but the market's good. It really is. It's very good.
Yeah. It's funny because I was telling you earlier, I've got a place over there not far from you. And I told my buddy down there, I was like, it's been hard the past couple of years. I said, dang, I thought it rained all the time in East Texas. He said it usually does, but we're seeing that this year.
Oh, man, we're seeing some rainfall. I mean, we've had over 40 inches in 30 to 40 days and literally have had too much rain as far as. And I said last week when I started saying that's the first time I'd ever said that in my adult life. Mm-hmm. For the simple fact, my dad said you never turn down a good rain in East Texas.
It's enough to get us through the summer at least.
Yeah, exactly. We know we're going to get one good cutting of hay and probably going to get two, if it didn't rain another lick. But we're thankful for the rain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely can't cuss it.
No, you sure can't.
I want to know a little bit about your background. How did you come about this way of life?
Well, I tell you what, I was raised in the Beefmaster business. My dad, we had Beefmaster cattle all through my school years and everything, and he was pretty well known in our area for selling Beefmaster bulls back in the 80s.
In Fairfield?
Right there in Fairfield. And then the simple fact, life went on. He had a heart transplant. I went and I was in the automobile industry and of course, and I pastored there in our local hometown right there. But I always still had some cattle periodically and everything, but I just knew I wanted to get back into the home roots of where we're at right now. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny because the place where my wife and I live and where raised our kids at basically is we started with a small place there of 26 acres. And then we took that particular place and we started adding land around there. But they always said you can't buy land with cattle. Well, we proved them wrong with that particular deal.
You got to get pretty creative.
You got to get creative. Cow-calf operation, no, you can't do it. You can't buy cattle or buy land and
pay for it
with cows. It just doesn't work. But I was very blessed, had my home place there where my parents lived, and my dad and I kind of partnered up when social media first came out. And when you're looking at it, we were kind of the pioneers and got laughed at a lot, still get laughed at a lot for the simple fact because we help a lot of people that buy the 20, 30, 40, 50 acre tracts. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, you have to answer a lot of questions that your everyday cowman's not willing to do. Mm-hmm. And so what we did, we kind of created something there that would really help people and go out of the way to help those people. We'll answer those dumb questions. Mm-hmm. Dumbest question I ever had asked. And the lady said I could use her several years ago I was selling milk cows right there on the small place where Kim and I live now, and she wanted to know who put shoes on my cows, and that was so. We do get a lot of questions that are, but the people don't know.
Yeah.
They're buying the small acreage out in the country. They're wanting to put some cattle out there. They just don't know. And so
you got to be willing to do what other people don't want to do.
That's
and
right.
You can make money that other people aren't going to make.
Yeah, but for the simple fact is they don't want to go that extra mile. But if you're willing to teach them, and I think that's the one thing that the automobile industry might have helped me with, the simple fact, answer some questions that and maybe it's the pastoring side of me, the simple fact of answering the questions and helping the people out that they don't know. They don't know, but they're willing to learn. I had a guy today drove from Big Springs, Texas, all the way down, wanting to buy 2 cows. Well, he left with 5, and but he had never owned cattle before, but he was just excited. Man, and I mean, a while ago he texted me, then he just made it home, and the cows dropped their head down and went to eating. I said, I bet they did. And but that's part of it, being willing to do what other people won't do,
right?
And you can see some great things happen.
So, what were you in sales?
I was in sales.
Yeah.
We have started a used car lot there in Fairfield. Well, I was in Connecticut. I got out of the military, stayed up there, took a salesmanship class or course or a test, should I say, and I scored higher. They've never had a test that high, and so we just kind of took it from there. And
you're kind of naturally cut out for it.
Kind of naturally cut out to talk to people. I think it's really an evangelistic gift that God gives you, a salesman, and then you can just take that and use it to help people, and that's where it's at. I mean, that's what's happened, and it's been kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people that abuse, that have the gift and abuse it.
Oh,
they can manipulate people, but also, I mean, sales really is just about solving somebody's problem.
That's right.
And helping somebody out and putting somebody in a better place.
That's right. And do whatever you say you're going to do today, go ahead and stick with it. And if you my dad always had a saying, if you tell the truth today, you don't have to worry about what you say tomorrow. And used to in the automobile industry, we called them 90-day wonder men. They would stay in a place and they'd burn a bridge after about 90 days and they'd have to move on somewhere else. And you see that. But we see that in the cattle industry. There is, in the cattle, in trading cattle, there's your average person on the internet will last about 6 months, especially when the market's as hot as it is now. You have a lot of people that will go out there and they don't know cattle, but they'll go buy they'll buy a bunch of calves or they'll buy whatever and then sell them and to people that don't know anything. And then the customer doesn't have anybody to fall back on. And you can't go to a vet every time something goes on. You've got to be you got to know how to help those people out. And so we see a lot of that and in the cattle business, just like it is in any other business. So I always tell people, stick with somebody that's got a track record. I mean, and you know that. You know how that is.
And we like to think probably in the agriculture industry that we're completely different, and stand out. But really our industry can relate to any other industry. Every industry has the same problems with the people and the processes and stuff. There's the same constraints in every aspect of business. So
you're exactly right.
But we like to think we're a little different, which we are in some ways. But
oh yeah, well, we are different. But the simple fact is, it takes a lot of hard work.
If you own a business that sells a product or service in the Western or ag industries, and you want that business to grow, go to the link down below. Fill out the form and we'll see if you qualify for free social media marketing.
We look at the older generation. We can learn from the older generation. And it's just like my dad. He was on that place. If he sold 200 bulls a year, man, you was cutting it big time then. But now then, when I started doing the social media like we did, man, we may sell 200 a day.
Yeah.
You don't never know. And it literally blew my dad's mind what the internet did for the cattle industry. And the internet's been good for the cattle industry. It really has. Now you get some out there that you got to be careful because we have been burned. And just because of not knowing the people. And, there are still some people out there that want to try to give you, whether it's hot checks or whatever it is, you got to be careful. You really got, and that's one thing I'd encourage people. They need to know who they're dealing with or kind of feel them out, and just not everybody is straight up.
That's the power of social media also too, is like there's accountability there, because if somebody writes you a hot check or you don't do good by somebody, you're going to get your name dragged through the dirt.
Oh, man.
And way back when I started this deal, Chick Wilfong was on here, and that's what he did a big fence job, and the guy can't remember if he didn't pay him or wrote him a hot check, and he said, hey, I'm going to blast you on social media at this time on this day if you don't get me a check, and it happened. So there's that. I mean, some people aren't going to care about their reputation that much, but a lot of people,
Yeah. We had a guy that came in, and he bought a truckload of cattle, gave me a check on a Friday, turned around on Monday morning, called me, said, hey, we're going to go ahead and just wire you the money. Okay, no problem. And I fell for it. I fell for the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. Then he turned around and said, go ahead and send me another load of cattle. So I got 2 loads of cattle gone. And wires on the way. That wire didn't come that day. Next day, cattle already unloaded in Kentucky. And the next day, their heads was cut off. And here I am, I'm holding $108,000 worth of hot checks altogether. And so anyhow, he got to stay in our county jail down there for a while.
Yeah, it's crazy what people do.
Oh yeah. It's unreal. And the thing about it is, it affects you. I don't know about you, but $108,000 affected a man pretty strong.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, that's what we in a past episode we were talking about. I can't remember the name of that company down there, but down south they were buying a lot of cattle, a bunch of yearlings, and they ended up going belly up, and a bunch of people got hot checks or just never got a check at all, and it affected, like you said, a lot of people. On a load of yearlings, that's a chunk of money, and luckily this guy they were small, and he said, that would have ended us, but they got paid, and some people around them, they were just kind of lucky that their deal went through. But yeah, I mean, one bad deal that can really
it can
throw a kink.
Yeah, I had really it affected me there for about 2 to 3 weeks, and I had to kind of get some things, and everybody I dealt with worked with me so well, and I mean, everything went good. And then it's the grace of God. I mean, man, that could have been. I could have went real bitter real quick, but it went well. I can't complain a bit. Yeah. So anyhow.
So when you got back into the cattle business, what did that look like? Did you come back with the intention of buying and selling cows, or when you got back, what was your goal there? You know what?
When I first started out trading on the internet, what I did, I literally, my dad, the home place was sitting there, and it was, just sitting there. I think my dad had 16 head on that whole place where I trade out of right now. And the way I got into the trading industry was this right here. I went and bought a milk cow. I went and bought 1 milk cow, and I bought 3 Jersey bull calves. And I was looking on, and there was no Facebook back then to trading cattle or anything like that. And I got to looking, but Craigslist, that was when Craigslist first came out.
Yeah.
And I seen a milk cow for sale. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna put that old milk cow on the internet. Because what I was gonna do, I was just looking at raising some little old calves, roping calves, just breakaway, just kind of that's all I was interested in doing.
Yeah.
And I put that cow on there, and about 2 hours later, I made $1,300 on that cow and those milk cow and that milk cow and those 3 calves. I was like, there's something to this deal.
Yeah.
And so what we did, we were literally just started buying milk cows. And that's all I did. I sold about 40 milk cows a month. Now, I am well convinced you can either have 1,000 head of beef cattle or you can have 40 milk cows, because it takes about the same amount of work to do either one. And so we bought that. We started buying those milk cows, going to sales and going to dairies and buying those the
They're
cows.
kind of hard to come up with
They
again.
are
milk
now.
cow.
They're extremely hard now. Back then, we were just kind of getting in that thing. And man, when we started, you could buy those things back then for like $600-700, and then you could put your profit on them, make sure they was cleaned out. And a lot of people were wanting to do the homestead thing, and it was working well. I mean, it was and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And then we just kind of went from there and just kept building that thing up, and I went to my dad, and after this thing done got big and I done started running that many cattle through there, and I went to him and I told him, I said, I don't want to sound like the prodigal son, but what I'd really like to do is take the home place and start turning some of these calves out that I'm getting off these nurse cows and just doing that. And he told me, he said, what do you think about me and you just starting trading together? I said, man, well, I guess we could try that. And so he told me to figure out how much money I had in milk cows. And I went and I gave him a figure, and he matched it. And that's when we started trading beef cattle. And from there, I mean, who would have ever dreamed that we would, we've already done over 10,000 this year. And so who would ever dream, that we would do something like that? But it was a God thing. I mean, it really was. I mean, just my gracious, to be able to do something like that. And so anyhow.
And how did that evolve? Were y'all just going a couple sales a week and putting together a handful here and there and posting them, or?
Yes, what we did was this right here. I would take those cows, and I literally went to my vet and told him what I was doing. And small town vets, my old vet, he's retired now, the one that I went to. And I went to him, told him what I was doing. He told me what I needed to give, everything. And I told him, I said, I do not want to make no shortcuts. And because on your nurse cows, they're pretty well taken care of. They don't need, because they've had their everything that they've had. But on these crossbreed cattle, you need a little bit, you need to take care of them, make sure you get the right shots. And so we went and found out exactly what we needed to do. And then one thing I did find out is this right here. If you make a shortcut, it'll come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
I mean, every time. And so we give everyone the shots they need. We give everything, the dewormers and everything. And so we just went right to it, and that's what we did. But we only went to like one sale a week. And then we got to where we went to 2 sales a week. And now then we're up to where we're at now. But there for a long time, my dad and I, we would go buy cattle. We'd bring them in. We'd work them right then, get them, and then turn them right back out, and just sell, whether it was like 5 or 10, or then when we got to where we could sell a pot load, it was like, oh boy, that hit it big time. Mm-hmm. But now then but we still sell a lot of 2s and 3s. I mean, we really do. Is that
the majority of your customers is gooseneck load or less?
When the market's like it is right now, I'm going to say yes. You got so many people wanting to get into the cattle industry right now. The ones that buy 2s, 3s, 4s, up to 16 a head, that is a big part of it. Now, like last year when we were in the drought here, and we were sending a lot of cattle to Colorado, Utah, all up in there. I'm going to say we sold a lot of big numbers. I just got through with a deal to Utah, and gentleman, he bought 300. And, never met the guy. He knows me from social media. Mm-hmm. And we sell a lot of those. but you've got to be willing to do the 2s, 3s, up to 16.
And a lot of people don't want to jack with that.
No, they don't. They don't want to do it at all. But the simple fact is, but the neat thing about it is the way we're set up there, Crockett, is that we're set up to where we can handle that. I've got a couple of guys there that can, if I'm tied up with customers, they can go show them cattle over here. I'm sitting here, but with this customer, they can go show them cattle. And my guys know if my guys see something wrong with the cow, they're to let the customer know. That's just, we don't try to hide anything. And it works out well for us. It really does.
Mm-hmm. And what is your setup there? I guess, you got to keep some cattle in traps, kind of where you can get to them easy. And
yeah, we got traps that we, not only at my, there at the headquarters, we have 8 different traps there, right around close that we keep small numbers in. And then we have 4 other traps we call A, B, C, and D that come up into a cul-de-sac, goes into a corral. But then what I did is I went and built me some lanes in our bigger pastures. Mm-hmm. And there's not a cow on our place that we can't pen in 30 minutes or less. That way, but we've got it set up that way. It's taken a long time to be able to do that so that we can set those cattle up like that. We got another place there where my wife and I live, and I split it up, and I took a long lane all the way through it, and I feed those cattle when I get a set of cattle there, and then I'll bring them up into those lanes, just kind of get them trained to do that, and it works well. Now, which we have to, my guys use horses quite a bit. I use a mule. I drive around in a mule. They don't let me ride a horse no more. They realize if I get hurt, we're in trouble. Yeah. And so we do it that way for the simple fact that we can just kind of get around them and get them up there. We try to be real easy with the cattle. And then if we got any idiots, well, then we just try to take them on to the barn or do whatever, go to cut their head off, whatever they need to be done.
Mm-hmm. So your niche is kind of getting these in, putting a handful together, and then almost like straightening them out.
Exactly.
Making sure so when somebody comes and buys one from you, they can go straight home and just unload them.
They can unload them and be done with it. They don't have to worry. And here's the neat thing about it is this. They can come in there and bring their branding iron, bring their ear tags. Man, with our setup we got there, run them through there. We can brand them, set them up, do whatever we need to do. If they don't have a brand that they want to put on the cattle, but they just they want some kind of marking, we'll put our brand on them, whatever we need to do. But we literally got it set up there. It's kind of like we're the bumper between a sale barn and the customer. Mm-hmm. If a customer goes to a sale barn, he buys 10 cows. Okay, well, you're going to have 2 idiots. You're going to have one that's there because it's got a problem or whatever it is. And out of 10, you'll end up with 5 or 6 good ones, but you're going to have 3 or 4 that you're going to need to take back to a barn. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but what I'm getting at is you got 5 seconds to look at that cow or less. And they're with us. I got it set up. We have a way to, you bring those cattle in and you can look at that cow one at a time. And you can look at that cow, and I got a cut gate there that we use quite a bit. And then you could take her or not take her. Mm-hmm. And it works well for the customers. It really does.
Yeah. Really serving that niche. And then, but also, like you said, you can handle the bigger customers also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then the bigger customers would have those cattle out. I'm going to have there's an ad we're going to be putting on there tonight that I went and took a video this morning. It's good-looking beef matcher type cows. It's a truckload of them, and I bought a truckload of cows, black cows today. I'm going to sell as a group. That's a good big. That's going to be good for someone, Mm-hmm. And so yes, it's a good setup. It really is. Taking us a lot of trial and errors, messing up, and just making mistakes. I mean, and that's we made a bunch of them. It's kind of like my commodity barn. The first commodity barn I ever seen in my life, I built. And I always tell people, if you want to know what not to do with a commodity barn, come see me. I can tell you everything you don't need to do.
Learn the hard way.
Oh, learn the hard way, buddy.
It does sound like you were a very early adapter of the internet and of social media, especially in this world. We're slow to change. I mean, even I was slow to get social media, and now it's a huge part of my life.
Yes.
But was that kind of a luck deal? You got that first deal and you're like, this is something that'll work, or did you research that a little bit? Or
let me tell you where that comes from. And I always say this right here. I have 9 children. We had 5. I had a son, my wife had a son, and then we had 3 together, and then we adopted 4. None of my children are really. I wore them out. I think whenever they come out there and go to work, because I work them like a dog. But the one thing that happened on the internet thing, I kind of got a hold of it. I'm 61, so I'm a little bit older. Kind of too old for that generation. But then I brought my son in, and he knows videoing, filming, and everything, and so he has really helped me and showed me some shortcuts, and it's like, and he's the one that's really pushed it to the next limit, to be quite frank with you, that has really helped that thing get to the point to where, how do you get this many people to look at your ads, and what do you do with this? There's so much that a person needs to understand and ask questions. And there's certain things that I'm very good at, but there's certain things that I need help with. And I think that's what happens a lot of time is the simple fact that people don't want to ask questions. Just like a person may not want to ask about what's a prolapse in a cow, or what's a long toe in a cow, or what's how come that cow's tit's a little bit too big. They may not want to ask you the questions, but if they will, they'll get an answer. And it's the same way with social media. I had to do a lot of asking, a lot of, hey, what do I do? And had to do a lot of admitting and telling my son, hey, son, I can't do this. Can you do this? And that's the one thing I think that we really need to get to the point to where we're willing to listen, and ask, humble ourselves and ask.
Yeah, you were open-minded and saw that that's kind of the direction you needed to go, and that was the future. Exactly. And you had to learn that skill whether you wanted to or not.
Whether you want to or not, you had to learn it. You have a lot of people that'll sit around, and whether they're laughing at you for having a podcast, but people will always laugh at you if they can't do it. Mm-hmm. People that really try and push and try to do what you're trying to do, they'll always encourage you. Yeah. But the lesser people will always be the one that laugh at you and make fun of you. Mm-hmm. And so that I had to learn when I go to a sale barn, I'm a friendly guy away from a sale barn. I'm not that friendly, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But I've kind of built when I go to a sale barn, I'm there for a reason, and I want to pay attention. I don't want everybody talking to me. They may be spending other people's money, but it's my hard-earned money. Mm-hmm. And so the simple fact is they may make fun of you if they can't do what you're trying to do, but the successful people will never degrade you. And that's one thing I found out. And it's just like this program you got here. You're doing a great job. But the simple fact is this right here. It's a witty invention. God said he would give you witty inventions, and that's what you've done. You come up with a witty invention. Mm-hmm. And so that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I've learned to kind of open later in life. I used to be hard-headed and closed-minded. I mean, still can be, but now I feel like I appreciate, even if it's something I'm not interested in or whatever. Think somebody's doing the wrong thing, but if they're working hard at it, you gotta respect that.
That's right. That's right.
Or even if it's somebody you don't like, you gotta respect them for what they're doing.
That's right. Just encourage them. You can either be an encouraging person or discouraging. And I guarantee you it's a lot better to encourage someone. Yeah. And it goes a long way.
You're not going to have very many friends the other way either.
No, you're sure not.
Nobody's going to want to be around you.
I picked up Logan a while ago at the airport, and there was a guy in front of man. The fella, he couldn't get this ticket in and everything. A guy behind him was driving a Porsche. He was all upset, and this old man got out of his car like, what's this old man getting out of a car for? He don't need to be he don't know what's going to be in the next car. And he's telling me to back up. And the simple fact is, be patient with the man in front of you. It's okay. Just chill out. It's all right. But I think we do. We as a people need to be more encouraging than discouraging, and we'll get along a lot better in life. Period.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun to smile and have fun than it is to be in a bad mood. Be mad at somebody.
It sure is. It sure is. And you'll never when sales are bad, which I do a lot of reading myself at nighttime, and I do. I read and I study and everything at nighttime. But sometimes the best thing you can do is go off and watch you some Andy Griffith shows or something other, and just learn how to laugh and just kind of chill out and don't dwell on what's so bad. The worst day in my life only lasted 24 hours. And you just got to realize that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. If you, the bad thing is, like, if you get mad at somebody or something, that's controlling you. You're not in control anymore. You gave that person the control. So
that's right.
You're letting them ruin your day instead of you being in control and saying, that sucks. Even me being conscious of it now, I'm like, give me a couple minutes, and then, try to get over it. But, it's way better. Like you said, be positive, have a good mindset, whatever you got to do. If you need a couple minutes or go watch a show or listen to some music or something to reset a little bit.
Exactly.
What are y'all's sales mainly coming from? Social media, but are people just messaging you? You directing them to a website, or they directly calling you? How's that working?
It really comes, most of my repeat business is very big. I'm going to say probably 40%, 30 to 40% is repeats. Other than that, I'm going to say it comes from either Facebook, Instagram. I do get a lot on TikTok. You got a lot of people that will that'll badmouth on TikTok. You got to have thick skin. If you're going to be on TikTok, you're going to have thick skin. And, I always tell people, hey, when people come and they say, man, how do you put up with those people? They said this about you it's a computer. I'm not going to argue with the computer.
Yeah.
Just block them. Just go on and block them, and, God bless them, and go on. But I'm going to say social media is my big, and then I'll try to direct them, in which we're fixing to launch a new pad that we're doing with our social media, and it's going to direct everybody to a new website that we're going to have. And the reason you're trying to do that is in case they ever took us off. They've got another platform they can go to.
Yeah.
I do have a website, internet company that we advertise with, and they do a lot of, they send me a lot of business through the internet company, and it's livestock marketing. I don't know, but they send me a lot of business. I get a lot of phone calls from them, and it's a pretty good deal. It's just straight through the internet, and but I'm going to say social media is my big. If I'm going to say what's the one thing that you would not give up, I would probably say Facebook and TikTok. I really would like to hang on to that, to not only for the sales, but also for our ministry. Because I reach. There's no way I could reach the amount of people that I reach on a daily basis that I do right now on Facebook and TikTok.
Yeah, that the reach is crazy. Like you said, you can get eyes from your cattle or your education or whatever you're putting out there, and then you can also spread the good word and the message and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The same way when you build that following up.
Oh yeah. I think our following now, I don't know where it is. If you add them all together, I guess we're at 250,000, something like that. But my gracious, man, we get phone calls, we get people that no matter where we go, people, recognize my voice more than anything. Because but the simple fact is, we're able to reach those people that we'd never reach them, and you get those people that said, man, you just spoke to me at the right time, and I've had some people that have called me and said we were contemplating on doing something bad to themselves, and they was to read a post, one of our pastor preachings or something like that, and reach somebody. Man, money can't buy that. I mean, yes, my platform is to provide for my family, but when you can do something like that to people that'll never darken the door of a church, and my people won't darken. I'm not saying everybody, but I mean, a lot of my people, they ain't going to darken the door of a church.
Right.
But that social media will reach them because they may be sitting there looking at some kind of pornography stuff or whatever, but something shows up and one of our deals pops up, and they get they get something out of it. And it's kind of neat when you're right there in the mully grub of everything. And so that's pretty neat. I mean, I wouldn't trade for that.
Yeah. Would you have ever thought you could have done something like that?
Never. My gosh, never. I mean, we used to travel. I would leave on a Friday, Saturday, and after I stopped pastoring, and I traveled a lot, doing evangelistic work. And man, reaching a couple of hundred people on a weekend, and you just see, you might, out of those 200, maybe you hope 20 to 30 of them are really paying attention. But the simple fact is you can reach so many people now through social media. I do most of my pastor preaching that I write. I do that mostly between midnight and 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll wake up and I'll do it, and then I'll do one, and then I try to get it sent off to Logan and let him critique me. I'm the only guy I took English 2 3 times. I'm not, and so you got to understand. I got ideas, but sometimes it have trouble putting it on paper. But the simple fact is, when you can reach people that way, money can't buy it.
Yeah, and I've been hearing. I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and big on learning about social media all the time. And one thing they're talking about, everybody wants the views. Oh, I posted this, but I didn't get hardly any views or any reach or whatever, hardly any engagement. And if you look at it from the perspective of, well, those 10 views that you got, or 20 views, or 100 views, or whatever it is, those views that you got, that's a person on the other side of it, and that's interested in what you're saying. If there was a room full of 50 people or 100 people that were sitting there listening to you speak, that's a hell of a deal, to have 50 people come into a room and be interested in what you're saying and stay there the whole time. So if you look at it from a different perspective, I mean, sure, you may not be getting the views, but why are you doing it? Are you doing it for impact, or are you doing it just to have this big number in front of you?
That's right. Yeah, numbers not everything, and the thing about it is, sometimes you just need one. Whether you're selling cattle, whether you're reaching somebody, sometimes that message that you may have that you're trying to give somebody, it may be for one person. And somebody may be praying that their son will be reached, or their daughter will be reached. And you don't know who that person is, but then all of a sudden they come across Crockett Crothers' podcast that may touch them and help them in a positive way. And all along, Mama's over here praying that would happen, and you happen to pop up.
Yeah.
Money can't buy that. But we live in a society now that this would have been, nothing like this would have happened 20 years ago. But we were made for such a time as this, that we can make it happen. And I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah. Spread the message, spread the positivity.
Yeah. If it's, whether it's a message, or whether it's a positive, the message of Christ, or whether it's something positive for business, I mean, they work together. They really do. And so you just got to be willing to to reach out there and do whatever God's called you to do.
Yeah, I've heard several people say the best business book they ever read was the Bible.
If you'll look at Proverbs, there's 31 Proverbs, and I would recommend any businessman out there, 31 Proverbs for every day of the month. And what you got to understand is this right here. What's the day? Today's the 10th. Go read the 10th proverb for today. Tomorrow, read the 11th one. And because it will tell you, the book of wisdom that will tell you how to run a business. And that's where it's at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And I just started it, probably the same way you did, just kind of your passion and like, just going to start it, see where it goes, and takes off a little bit. And like you said, the positive messages that you get a lot of crap comments and whatever, but you get the one positive way outweighs, the impact of the 10 negatives or whatever.
Oh yeah. We have a lot of people. And when I say that, people that can't do what you do will always criticize you. The people that really make negative comments on cattle and everything, we get a lot of cattle in that are thin. When we get them in, yes, they're thin. They're thin for a reason. We post them quickly to get them on it. We got everything set up for them to succeed. And but the simple fact is, only people that don't know cattle will ever say something negative about the cattle being thin and type it out. Now, they may be thinking, dang, that cow's thin, but they won't put something stupid enough out there about how thin she is. But the simple fact is this right here. If you don't like what they're saying, just delete them. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier doing that than when I was pastoring a church. You couldn't just kick them out of the church. But I can hit that delete button on the computer.
Do you think, going back to a while ago, you said it only takes one view, and it reminds me of a guy I was trying to sell some cows, and I thought, I priced them up there where they were top of the market, somebody's going to have to pay something. And I said, what do you think? You think they'll sell? And he said, well, it only takes one. He said, if you want to have an auction, it takes two. But do you think there will be some online cattle auctions? Have y'all thought about anything like that? I know I've had some guys in here that do it with horses, and it's becoming a little bit more mainstream, but I don't see that. I mean, you can buy cattle online through Superior and stuff like that, but not really a cow deal or something like you've got going.
There's a couple of brothers down there, and I think they do a good job. J&J, I think, is the name of their. And I think they do a very good job. I've talked to them on the phone before. I think they've got a heck of a program going, and they do something like that. And I think it may be something we may look at a little bit later on. Those cattle that they do there, they do it with they got them on feed, and I'm talking about
they run replacement heifer,
and they do replacement heifers, and they do it. I think they do a jam up job. Some of my customers bought cattle off of them. Never met the guys in person, but I've heard nothing but good things about them. And I think that one day it'll get to something like that. Sometimes we go to public auctions, and the internet bids this and the internet bids that, and it may be something that we may tackle later on. I mean, if that's something that my son wants to help me do later on, it may be something that we look into. But at 61, I'm kind of enjoying just trying to get this plane leveled out. How we going to land this thing?
Yeah.
And so I'm not. I think it is going to get to the point that you're going to do that. I think you may get to see it in a bigger way, and because already there's people such as ourselves which we need the public auctions so that we can get the cattle. And most places we go, the auctions like us, for the simple fact is when we show up, the prices of the cattle may go up a little bit because we're there to buy the cattle, good cattle. Mm-hmm. And but I think you are going to get to the point to where something like that could happen. Man, who would have dreamed that we'd be doing this 20 years ago? So what's it going to look like in another 20 years?
Yeah.
I mean, and so that's what we got to look at.
Yeah, I think always got to keep evolving and looking for opportunity, especially now, somebody wanting to get started. Like you said, you got to get creative. It's not like you can go buy a little piece of land and turn a few cows out and
It ain't gonna work.
you're going to get rich.
Yeah. We were buying the place that Kim and I, where our house is, we started with 26 acres, and we just went to adding this place and this place and this place and this place. And my banker, I'll never forget the first big chunk of land that we bought that joined us there. They went to the board of directors, and I'll never forget, my banker come back and told me, he said, well, one of the board members said that there's no way to pay for land in Freestone County with the cow operation. And my banker told him and said, you have not seen Bubba Rutherford's social media page. And I'll never forget that. But the simple fact is this right here. You got to think outside the box. I mean, don't do what everybody else is doing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like this. You go to the local donut shop or the local coffee shop, and they can break a market in a heartbeat. Just listen to all the old deadbeats that cannot succeed in what you're doing. People laugh at you and everything else. I mean, and they're like, oh, it's bad. It's bad. Well, man, don't hang out with those people talking about how bad it is. Find something good to say. And it's just like our deal last year when we had such a drought going on. Well, what we had to, it's not dry everywhere in the United States. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's somewhere it's got some moisture, and you just got to find where that moisture is, and that's where you got to do your advertising at.
Yeah.
That's basically what we try to do.
Yeah, I always say, go emulate somebody that you want to be like. So if you're gonna be, like you said, one of the guys that is negative and talking about how you can't do it and all this stuff, all the reasons you can't do something, and you go follow that guy, I mean, you're gonna end up in the same boat. If you go follow you and see how, just do the exact steps, you can see where you got. Mm-hmm. If I do the exact steps that he did, I should be in the same spot or close to it.
That's right.
If I go do the same steps as Michael Jordan, mm-hmm. I'm probably going to be there, which most people aren't going to do that. Mm-hmm. But just go, whatever you want to do, whether it's in the cattle industry or sports or business, just go find somebody that's ahead of you, copy what they did, and then you should be, somewhat close to what they did. So, mm-hmm. All you gotta do is reverse engineer it, and go find a mentor and help them guide you along the way. They can probably point you in the right direction and maybe help you get there a little faster and avoid some mistakes.
That's right. That's exactly right. I've got right now where I'm at. There was about a month ago, I had to go through a pretty good sized surgery on my left arm, and I got my son. I got a 19-year-old, and he was looking at. He was wanting to do something different, and I don't blame him a bit. When I was 19, I didn't want to be there on that place, period. I wanted to get out of there. But I told him that day, I said, I want you boys to realize this right here. If you're going to quit, I want you to quit today, because you can't quit for 6 months after today. And my son asked me, he wanted to go, and he's taking flying lessons, and he's doing good, and he's going to be an airplane pilot. My gracious, I'm so excited for him, because evidently he is doing extremely good, and that's what I want him to do. I want all my children to do exactly what they want to do, and I want them to succeed, whatever they choose to do. But I've got 3 guys there, 3 young men that work for me, pretty much really 4. But what I want to do, I take them, I've tucked them under my wing, and I'm trying to train them. This is what I want to do, is train these young men. Now, when they get to where they won't listen to me, hey, you're gone. I mean, I'll let you go in a heartbeat. But if they will help me and I can help them become a better person, that's what I want to do. You can either be an employee or you can be a part of the puzzle to get to the next step. Mm-hmm. And I'll always help somebody get to the next step if they're willing. But if they just want to draw a check, they can draw a check but they're going to be the first one to leave if I don't really need them.
Yeah.
And so, and I always tell them, guys, this right here, when you get to the point where you know more than I do, I can't help you no more. And now they may give me some good ideas, and I've had some great day workers there. But I've had some but I've never had a day worker write me a check.
Yeah.
Ever. and so anyhow, but the whole thing is this right here. Man, they help me get to certain things, but and I can learn from them. But at the same time, let's help build this puzzle. Be part of the puzzle, or just be an employee. But I think you're exactly right. Find somebody that you want to mentor, or you want to be your mentor, and stick with them. And even when it hurts, you'll succeed.
Yeah, and you hear Clint Anderson's podcast that's pretty big now.
Yes.
He talks about going and working, for free, or working just for your room and board and eat, or if you get paid a little bit, but working to get that knowledge and working. And I see that a lot now. We get so tied up in working. How much is it going to pay? Blah, blah, blah. And making a living that you don't go somewhere with opportunity. You might can go somewhere that's not going to pay as good, right off. But in 5 years or 10 years, if you can hold out for that mediocre or low pay or whatever it is, in 10 years, you can be a CEO or president, or, whatever the role is, or have the knowledge to go out on your own and really make some big money.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly right. There's a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in that book, he talks about not working for money, but working for the knowledge. And if you'll work to learn, money will come. And I had a guy here about 2 months ago that I was needing a day help the next day. I was in a bind, and I needed somebody to help me. And so anyhow, one of the day workers give me a guy's phone number to call and everything. He's a young man. This is a young man that was that I was fixing to call, and I called him up on the phone. He said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you pay?" And I told him what I pay. He said, "Well, I got to have another $50." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. You come work." I said, "I don't even know if you're going to show up on time." So that's my big stickler. If you're not willing to show up on time, I don't need you.
Yeah, it takes zero talent.
That is one particular deal. You can ask any of my guys. Mr. Bubba wants you to show up on time, and that's the way it is. But I told him, I said, if you show up on time and you work hard, I'll give you that extra $50. And he said, "No, that's all right." It's like, if you're not willing to take a chance, man, roll the dice. You're sitting home eating, popcorn.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten where, if it's somewhere new, I'll go try it out one time. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, it's one day out of your life, you know? And, your time's value. Depending on what point in your life, your time, your time may not be that valuable.
At 61, it's valuable.
Yeah. But it's usually not that big a deal. Like you said, you might just be sitting at home that day. Go try it out. It may be, if it don't pay good, then don't go back. If it does pay good, there you go. Or maybe it turns into a full-time deal, or maybe another guy's there is working and wants to hire you into a better deal, or somebody comes by his cattle that day and sees you and like, "Hey, that guy's pretty good. Would you want a job?"
That's right.
Never know what might happen.
You never know. But if you're sitting at the house watching TV, that chance will never come to you. But get outside, go stir around, go do something. I always hear the story about the guy, and I can't remember who it was, working at McDonald's. He was a executive and everything. He was going to had to do something, so he went to work at McDonald's. And about that time, somebody come through the window, and the guy was like, "Oh my God, man, I've been looking for you. I didn't know how to get a hold of you." This before cell phones. And anyhow, the guy went, and before you know it, he was making a 6-figure income just for the simple fact he got laid off, but he was willing to go do something. He was working at McDonald's just to do something. And I think God honors that. I do. The simple fact that get up. I always said this right here when talking to people that needed jobs. I said, man, if you'll get up early in the morning and just literally just go to studying the Bible, go to doing something. If you ain't got nowhere to go to studying and praying, the devil will find you a job to keep you from doing that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But just do something. Don't just sit there and eat popcorn or eat, fudge and getting fatter and fatter, but get up and go do something. Go stir up.
Yeah. What are your top 3 mentors you've had in your life?
Top 3 mentors. Well, That'll get me choked. You know, when you look at who has really affected me, I'm going to say my dad has affected me more than anything. We didn't always get along. I guess every teenager goes through that. Now, my gosh, you know, I mean, my dad's going to be the one person that taught me how to work, how to take care of my family, and to be a man. And, you know, it wasn't all, my dad had tough love, and but he is going to be the one person that taught me business. He was a businessman. I'm a salesman, and I had to hire somebody that knows business to help me run the business, for the simple fact I know sales, but I'm not that good a businessman. Now, when my dad and I were partners, he run the business, and I took care of the sales. And he was somebody, he is the number one mentor that I'm going to say that took care of me, that showed me how to be a man from baby on up.
Yeah.
You know, the next mentor that I was be the man that taught me how to sell. And he taught me, Jim Peters. He is a man that, and I'm not. He's not a famous man or anything like that, but he's someone that literally taught me how to sell and how to turn something into a sale, and he really taught me, you know, how to do that. But I guess the greatest mentor, in which it may sound corny, but this is just the way it is, and that's Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely the worst. When I was at my worst, he was at his best. And you know, when you're in a situation, my first drug problem I ever had, notice I said first, was I was drugged to church 3 times a week. And I hated church. I hated church with a passion. But, you know, when I accepted Christ, I can take the Word of God and I can learn so much from it. When I'm at my lowest point in life, I can pick up the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And the Word of God is where I get all, that's where I learn how to, whether it's being a dad, being a salesman, being just a good man, being a mentor to somebody else. But I take the Bible, which is Jesus Christ, the Word, and I take that, and that's who I try to become. Now, hey, you know, not everybody likes me. You know what? Not everybody likes Jesus. Yeah. I mean, hey, that's okay. You know, so we got that in common. But the simple fact is, I can try, and I can be that, and I can be the best I can be. But he'll never leave me nor forsake me. And he's somebody, you know, my dad's gone. I got my memories of my dad. Jim Peters is gone, the one that taught me how to be a salesman. But the one thing I got is Jesus Christ said he would never leave me nor forsake me. And I got him from now on. And he is the one that I will not sell out for nothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so I'm going to say that's my 3.
Yeah. Those are good. What advice would you give to someone that's looking to get started ranching?
You know, I think we've got some great courses right now. Number one, look at people that have succeeded. Joe Blow down the road there, that's old cows just kind of hanging out, and they, you know, don't have a good calf crop. And don't take after everybody that just because they got cows, you know, they got 4 legs and a tail and 2 horns. I mean, don't listen to those people. I think we got some good programs that A&M is put on in the springtime of the year. You can go and get you some classes, get you some. We put a short course out there, and a lot of people, it didn't, you know, we didn't, and a lot of people get a lot out of it. But the simple fact is, get you some courses that will teach you how to take care of the land. You know, it's not just about, my dad always told me this right here, we're in the grass business. We're not in the cow business, we're in the grass business. We use cows to harvest our grass. Mm-hmm. And it's so true. And but I think a person needs to study, read up, take some of these short classes, short courses. Man, I spoke at a deal down in Louisiana, and they had a once a month meeting down there of about the cattle industry. Get with your county agent. Get with somebody that and if you're blessed enough to have a county agent that puts on programs like that, I mean, that's a great thing. Find something. The Norco that does LA 300. What's the name of the company that? Anyhow, they had a deal here a while back, and they was wanting to start doing some courses and some. We have different speakers. And matter of fact, we're talking about having one right there in Fairfield, and real soon, and going to have different feed stores talking, and maybe some different drug companies and things like that. And because there is a lot of people out there that need to know and need to find out how do they get started in this? Mm-hmm. Find out some symptoms. I mean, I get so many people that send me videos, and I always tell them, I can't tell you what to do, but if they were mine, this is what I would do just to protect myself. But the simple fact is this right here. Get all the knowledge you can get from the free education that we have out there from the drug companies and from these short courses that you can go down there and take. And, man, I think anything you could do to learn something, just like palpation schools, say, well, we don't want but 10 or 15 cows. I think anything you can do to get your hands on a cow just to learn something, what's on the inside of a cow, what makes her, you'll pick up a nugget at any kind of short course that you can to help you further your education.
Have you ever asked yourself why it costs so much to get paid? Hey everyone, this is a show that has a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners on, and the number one rule in business is to get paid, right? If you own a business, there's a good chance you're overpaying for credit card processing, and there's an even better chance that you're getting terrible customer service. At Diversified Payments, we make the payment process simple for both the customer and the business. Being based in Central Texas, we're able to offer business owners personal customer service while saving them money on their credit card processing fees. And we're the only payment company that I know of that's deeply rooted in the ranching and rodeo industries. If you think you're paying way too much in card processing fees, or you can't get in touch with your payment processor when there's an issue, go to diversifiedpayments.com/wealthycowboy. What's your favorite breed of cattle?
Beefmaster. I'm a Beefmaster guy through and through. I was raised in Beefmaster. I always tell everybody back in the 80s when Beefmaster had a bad habit of prolapse and everything, I could sew up a prolapse with my eyes closed.
Got plenty of practice.
Got plenty of practice. And also with the long sheaths of the bulls, I massaged more long sheath broken pecker bulls than anybody around. It's just because back in the 80s, that was the two flaws they had. But what my dad did, if we had a cow on our place at prolapse, we would take a cow, we'd go all the way back to grandmother, great-grandmother, all the way back, and we would cut the heads off every one of those cows. And by the time we sold out, when my dad had a heart transplant, we didn't have prolapse problems. I mean, we took care of those problems. But you can take a good Beefmaster cow or Brangus cow, but I really like a Beefmaster cow, and you can put a good Charolais bull on that, and that calf will mash down on the scales. Mm-hmm. That's that personal opinion in my area. Now I know if people are listening to this up in the mountains or somewhere in northern states, that's not true. But down here where we're at, that Beefmaster cow, when that black cow's wading out in the water, she's gonna be out there grazing, and gaining that weight.
And that's what I tell people too. I mean, you can have your favorite. My favorite would probably be a tire strap, Brayford, but I don't own very many. I turned out that place we were talking about down by you. I turned out a bunch of horn cows.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just for the economics, and then for the place. The place is brushy and rough and hard to gather, and they're a more gentle type breed and hardy and don't require a lot of maintenance.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't get to turn out your favorite one every time.
You don't. And you know what you got to realize this right here. There ain't nothing wrong with a show enough good Corriente and putting a good Charolais bull on them. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with that, but you can't go around bragging about them.
Yeah.
But, for economic wise, yes, that worked. But my gracious, I've been seeing some high dollar quarter inning cows run through the barns here lately.
Yeah. Everything is. And Andy was on another episode, and he had the roping cattle sales, and their deal don't always follow, just the beef market. It's a totally different area there. It's depends on supply and demand, whether how many ropers are out there and how many guys are roping, and if they need some ropers, and it fluctuates. It's a different kind of deal there.
Oh, I guarantee you. I went here a while back to trying to buy my son some steers to rope, and it was like, good grief, I can't believe I'm paying this much for these steers. And it blew my mind. But 6 months before that, I mean, they hardly they give them to you.
Yeah, nothing hardly. I know back in I remember what those years were, but one of the years when roping calves were really high, a lot of guys went to roping donkeys and team ropers too.
Wow.
Because the donkeys were free. They couldn't kill them, in Mexico. So the buyers wouldn't buy them at the sale. So you could just go get them for nothing. And you get them little donkeys, you could tie them down just like a calf if you can not get bit while you're down there. You got to get creative sometimes.
Oh, I guarantee you. Think outside the box. That's exactly right.
What's your favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant. Are you talking about a steak, or are you talking about a Mexican food? If I had my choice, man, I like staying home.
Yeah.
Now this weekend I'll be flying out. My wife and I enjoy it. We do like go on little short trips and everything, but we love coming to Fort Worth. We really do. I love going into which is just a tourist type deal, but Risky's. Matter of fact, we ate Risky's today. And but I'm not but I'd have to say a good steak, the H3, yeah, and I enjoy eating there, but I am a guy that my steaks are always best when I cook them at the house, but I'm going to say that's going to be my favorite.
Yeah, I've gotten picky. I mean, I kind of watch out, if you're not somewhere that's nice, that dang sure has a good steak, then you're better off ordering chicken or a burger or something.
Exactly. No, because because you can mess up a good steak in a heartbeat. You sure can. But now let me tell you something. When I go to South Texas buying cattle, man, I'm a fool for those taco stands.
Yeah. Real authentic Mexican food.
Oh man, I do enjoy that quite a bit. And my wife probably wouldn't eat nothing like that. But anyhow.
Where can everybody find you on social media, on your website, all that type of stuff?
Okay, well, if you look up Rutherford Cattle on Facebook, and we've had to change that about 4 times. We've been shut down 4 different times on Facebook, but they can find me under Rutherford Cattle on Facebook, and then you can find me, Bubba Rutherford, and I think they'll just have to follow me there because we're already past our friend deal, but it's under Bubba Rutherford. Then on Instagram, it's Rutherford Landing Cattle. And then on TikTok, it's Rutherford Landing Cattle. And I answer every, I try to answer anything. If anybody wants to text me, can I give them my phone number? Am I like that? My number's 903-388-4472. And I answer all of them and personally. So, and then on our website is RutherfordLandingCattle.com. RutherfordLandingCattle.com.
You always got something for sale.
Always got something for sale. Open 6 days a week. Always closed on Sunday.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think you brought some value, and I hope everybody got some value out of it. And share it out. If you, I think you can re-listen to this episode if you're wanting to get started in the ranching business. There's some good resourceful stuff in here. So y'all share it out and like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time.